All right, guys, how's it going? Before I get started, today is I had mentioned that this was going to be the Good News Network, and we were going to talk about good news and just good news, and that's what we intend to do. I'd also mentioned before that we need to not forget about what's going on in the rest of this world and all of, some things that are happening that are tragic. We need to not forget. So I just want to take a moment. And I want to tell the people in Manchester from the bombing yesterday that we are praying for you here at Be the Frontline, and in the United States. We feel you, and we're praying for you, and we just hope that you guys can get through this, and we pray for all the families that were affected, and I want to pray for Ariana Grande. How disheartening that might be for that to happen at her concert. I heard that they went ahead and canceled the rest of the tour. So so people of Manchester, we love you. We're praying for you, and we hope you get through this. And God bless. With all that being said, let's go to the news of today. The NBA playoffs are happening right now. Now, it's kind of weird for me to talk about the NBA playoffs. I quit watching basketball, the NBA specifically, when Michael Jordan left. To me, basketball was dead after that. I got into the Spurs, doing so well. I thought Tim Duncan was a stand-up guy, and by the way, I believe he's the most underrated player of all time, if you ask me. The guy has so many records, and he gets passed over all the Kobe's and the LeBrons and all those guys, but Tim Duncan was the man. But other than that, I kind of just haven't watched the NBA since Michael Jordan. Then the Oklahoma City Thunder comes. Now, we're here in Southwest Missouri, and there is no NBA teams in the 4 states. I'm kind of like a hometown guy. I root for the Chiefs in Kansas City and the Royals and the Cardinals, but there hasn't been any NBA teams until now. So last year I got the opportunity to go and watch my first NBA game since the 90s, which I did get to see Jordan play back in 1997, their last of their 6 rings. I got to see that, so that was pretty cool. Since then, my first game was going to see the Oklahoma City Thunder. Last year, they played the Clippers, and I fell in love with Kevin Durant. It's a little bit difficult for me to talk about him because, he left the Oklahoma City Thunder and went to the Golden State Warriors, and now they have the ultimate team. They're like the Yankees of the NBA. I became a Kevin Durant fan when he was at Oklahoma City, and I continued to be a fan of his now that he's with the Golden State Warriors. A lot of people are like, oh, he sold out the team and he's chasing the money or whatever. Hey, I don't know what's going on inside the NBA. I don't know what's going on in their minds. So that's not for me to say. But what is for me to say is that the reason that I truly follow Kevin Durant is because he is a stand-up guy. We happen to share the same faith. He is a very devout Christian. So here's a quote from Kevin Durant himself, and this is I think truly gives you an idea of the kind of guy that he is. But the quote is, "I'm not perfect at all by any means. I've got a long way to go to become closer to the Lord, but hopefully I can continue to stay on the path. I might take a few steps forward and take a couple steps back and take some steps forward, but I want to get better." I just think that quote is just something encouraging. It really kind of doesn't matter what your faith is. That's something that it could be, kids can follow and read, and just something that lifts their spirits and encourage them. Like, hey, here's this guy that's like a superstar NBA player, but he can relate to me. There's a lot of other NBA players that are Christians and are devout. Blake Griffin is a good example. Dwayne Wade from the Miami Heat. As a matter of fact, Dwayne Wade actually, with all of his fame and money and everything, he could go out and do a lot of things. But his mom is actually an ordained Baptist minister, and he just went and bought her a church. Just like Kevin Durant being the front line in the NBA, and now on the grand scale of being in the NBA Finals or the playoffs, you can also be that wherever you're at. Whether you work in a factory, you work in an office, whether you work at home, whether you homeschool, whether you're a teacher, all of these different places. That's what I wanted to highlight, people that are on the front line where they're at, and encourage you to be the front line with your faith wherever you're at. You can do that anytime, anywhere. You can do it in the grocery store. You can do it out on the field with your kids playing sports. There's just so many different ways that you can show just a positive light in this ever-increasing negative world. So that's all I've got to say about the NBA. We'll talk about something else some other time. But before I go, I had mentioned briefly in one of the previous videos about Tim Tebow taking kids to with some mental handicaps and disabilities and physical disabilities to prom. Back in February, there was a girl that asked Tim if he could go to a prom with her, and he had previous engagements. So this guy, he goes on the Jimmy Fallon show, and he calls up this girl that asked him to go to the prom. I wasn't able to make it to your prom, but I'm going to be on the Jimmy Fallon show, so why don't I pay for you and your mom to come on the Jimmy Fallon show? Then when he's on the show, he invites her up and he dances with her right there for the whole world to see. That is being the front line. You're going to hear me talk a lot about Tim Tebow because he does stuff like that all the time, and I just like the guy. I don't care if he plays baseball, football. I don't care if he takes up lacrosse. It doesn't matter. The guy is just the real deal. Let's continue to pray for Manchester and all the families that were affected by the bombing. You're in our prayers. We love you. Guys, thank you very much for watching. My name is Jake Jones, and this is Be the Frontline. Have a great day.